Welcome to Miami Dolphins Today by Chat Sports. I am your host, Nic Rohloff. We got some news to break down. Miami, when veterans report to training camp, which they did on Tuesday, July 22nd, a flurry of roster moves, including a really good signing that I would have been fine with making during NFL free agency back in March and April, at least the prime of NFL free agency. We'll dive into everything that Miami did today on today's show, but this is why you subscribe to the channel, because we are covering you on Dolphins football every single day. We go live every Tuesday afternoon as well, which this is where it's being filmed. If you want the up-to-date best coverage on the Fins, this is the channel for you. Join us today. All right, so we'll start with number one, and this is that we signed offensive lineman Daniel Brunskill. And this is a really good signing. And if I'm looking down at my computer, it's because I want to read off a lot of statistics on what Brunskill can play and what he can bring us to the table. This is a player that has started in 66 games in his career. He started 10 games last season for the Tennessee Titans, playing 463 snaps at center, 176 snaps at right guard. This is a versatile offensive lineman who can play almost everywhere on the interior. And if we're going to be honest, as a rookie, when he was drafted to the 49ers in 2019 out of San Diego State, wasn't drafted with a UDFA, he played 274 snaps at right tackle. So this is an excellent depth piece on the offensive line. And when I'm starting to piece together what Miami is doing here, we're starting to see more depth be added, right? We know the starting five up front, barring injury, is going to be Patrick Paul, James Daniels, Aaron Brewer, Jonas Savianaya, and then Austin Jackson at right tackle. But the depth behind them was a little bit in question. It was, because you have Liam Eichenberg, you have Larry Borum, but that's really it. And we all can agree that we don't want to see Liam Eichenberg. And he does bring good things to the table. His knowledge of the scheme, the system, and every position on the O-line, he can play it. But Brunskill is objectively a better offensive lineman. We're talking about an O-lineman here that in his 6-year career, playing 4,600 snaps, has only given up 13 sacks and only been penalized 12 times. He has been graded out in his career in the low 60s every year, besides this past one. In run blocking, it's in the 60s every year, but this past one. In pass blocking, he has had a couple times being graded in the mid to high 70s. So this is a player that is versatile. He's athletic. He fits the zone scheme that Miami likes to run a lot. Like, I really like it. He actually, in 2022 and 2023, when he was in Tennessee, ranked among the top 25 guards in the National Football League, according to Pro Football Focus. So I'm telling you, this guy is going to be someone who makes this 53-man roster. There was a more recent article from ESPN that projected the 53-man roster for Miami, and it had Keon Smith making it as a depth piece. That is not going to be the case anymore. Maybe Keon Smith does make the roster, but if there is one offensive lineman to come out of nowhere and make this 53-man group, it's going to be Daniel Brunskill, and it's not really coming out of nowhere. It's just saying that because he wasn't on the roster 4 hours ago. What is your reaction to signing Daniel Brunskill? One word, let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. Today's pinned comment right after this YouTube ad break, I'll give you my one word. My one word on signing Daniel Brunskill is good. Because it's not going to be great. It's just going to be a good depth signing to where he will be impactful. Does he ever play a snap for Miami this season? There is a chance he does not. And if we're going to be honest, we hope that he doesn't, because that means your offensive line was good all year long and they stayed healthy. But this is a player capable of stepping in and playing right away, which I really, really like. And it's someone that fits exactly what Miami looks for in an offensive lineman. He will be a day one contributor, at least in some capacity, whether it's mentoring or just being a valuable depth piece. Also among the roster moves Miami made, well, they had to waive someone to sign Brunskill, and they waived quarterback Brett Gabbert, not to be confused with Blaine Gabbert. That would be his older brother. Brett Gabbert was someone Miami signed in undrafted free agency, quarterback from Miami of Ohio. Nothing special there. He was just the fourth QB on the roster behind Quinn Ewers, Tua, and Zach Wilson. I will always have said this. I didn't feel the need for Miami to have 4 quarterbacks because you do want to see Zach Wilson and Quinn Ewers dominate all of the reps behind Tua, and Tua needs his reps in practice. But then once we get to the preseason game, we should be seeing Zach Wilson play half the games and Quinn Ewers playing the other half. Those guys just need reps in this system. But you also see a lot of these injury moves here. So we're going to talk about that. That's what we're going to transition into here. Liam Eichenberg and Darren Waller have been placed on the PUP list. And I don't want this to be concerning to anyone. I don't. Some people might be happy that Liam Eichenberg's on the PUP list. That's just mean. But the reason why nobody should be concerned about the PUP list is because you can come off of the PUP list anytime. Now, the one thing that can't happen is be placed on IR in the middle of training camp or the preseason or any time in the offseason. You get placed on IR at this time in the offseason, you're out for the entire year. We saw that last season with Grayson Murphy and Taj Washington. The PUP list is significantly different. And to me, I don't know why Liam Eichenberg is on the PUP list because he really didn't have an injury that we were aware of coming into today. So I'm sure we'll get an update on that over the next 24 to 48 hours. Darren Waller on the PUP list makes a lot of sense. Why is that? Well, he didn't play football last season. He was retired. So this is a guy that has to ease back into football activities. He'll get some work. He'll get some rehab. He'll get his body right. And when Miami feels he is ready to step on the practice field and contribute for them, he will be taken off of the PUP list. So that is no concern for me. The next thing I want to talk about is actually someone who is not placed on the PUP list. Ifeatu Melifonwu. He was placed on the non-football injury list, which I'm not sure why. I'm trying to look it up on Twitter. I haven't found it as we're filming this video. Obviously, the non-football injury list means that he will be away from the team and it is not related to an injury that has happened. So I'm really not sure why. Still no updates on social media on why Melifonwu would be placed on that list. I hope that everything is okay with Ifeatu because he is certainly someone Miami is anticipating being a difference maker for them this season in some capacity. He was one of 2 safeties Miami signed in free agency alongside Ashton Davis. Obviously, Miami got Minkah Fitzpatrick in return for Jalen Ramsey and the Jonnu Smith trade. But this is going to be a competitive safety room. I hope Melifonwu is going to be able to come back and really try to make a good run to make this 53-man roster. I would anticipate him being on the 53-man roster. They signed him to a contract that would make you think he's going to be a lock for the roster. But, hey, if this drags out for a really long time, it was only a 1-year, $2.5 million deal, so there's not that much tying him to Miami, and maybe he does get cut and they keep a guy like Patrick Morris. I hope not the case. I hope everything's good with Ifeatu Melifonwu, but we'll have to see as stories and the reports come out on why he is being placed on this list to begin training camp. One more thing we're talking about before we end this show. A player that wasn't placed on PUP list or any injury list, James Daniels. Why is this impactful for Miami? Well, the fact that he was not placed on the PUP list before training camp gets underway is just a indication of where he is in his rehab process. This was the prize signing for Miami in NFL free agency. They signed him to a 3-year, $24 million deal. He is going to be your starting offensive guard and hopefully be an instant impact and upgrade over what you had a year ago in Liam Eichenberg and Robert Jones. But he did tear his Achilles in week 4 of last year's season for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, the indications and reports were that he was going to be ready for week 1 against the Colts, and he was going to be ready to roll at some point in the middle of training camp. And it is only just signified even more that that is the case for Miami because he is not on the PUP list. So if there's a couple takeaways you can have from this show, well, it's one, I really like Daniel Brunskill being signed. He is going to be a good depth piece for Miami. But it's also James Daniels not being on the PUP list because he is going to be able to be on the football field practicing, mentoring, working hand in hand with Savi Naya and Patrick Paul much sooner than anticipated, which will only set up the Dolphins' offensive line to be better right off the jump than what it might not have been if he was a little bit slower to getting on that O-line on the practice field. So I really like that. That will do it for today's show. This is why you subscribe to the channel. Like we said off the top, when news happens, we have you covered. We also go live every Tuesday, so join us for our weekly Tuesday live shows as we get closer and closer to the preseason and closer to the season. Thank you for watching today's show. See you with a video tomorrow. I'm Nic Rohloff. Go Fins.